Welcome to the October-November wrap-up, where I am still very much spooky in the month of December. This camera setting makes me look super pale, but we're just gonna ignore that and recap what happened. So, September I read 30 books in 30 days, or at least I tried to. I started a bunch of books. I was also sick. I'm in my December cold. It's technically the week before finals, and my body still thinks I'm in school, so here we are, sick, the week before finals. Anyways, so I finished a bunch of books in October that I technically counted towards September, so we're only going to be talking about the 6 that I counted that I finished in October. One of these I actually finished in November, but I counted it as October because I'd already written it down. And then we're also going to be talking about November here, which has 2 finishes and 2 DNFs. My stupid little, look how awful this looks. I did such a shitty job. As is always, my motivation for reading only happens until September, and then it dies completely. Also, if you don't notice, but I did not add a TBR this month. I 100% forgot to add a TBR in November, and I haven't even done anything for December. But anyways, we'll start with October, then we'll do November, and it was just a bunch of struggle months. So, to start off, since I was having such a shitty time with my anxiety and I genuinely felt depressed for the first time in a while, I decided to read one of my favorite comfort reads. And that is Tiger's Curse by Colleen Hewlett. This book, this would have been my 3rd time reading this, and it holds such a special place in my heart. I haven't actually read my hardcover copies because I had a bunch of paperbacks and I ruined the spines, tore them up completely. So I've started turning them to art, so this is the first time I've started reading the hardcover ones that I've read, and I actually highlighted it for the first time, and it was super fun, super awesome. I loved it. In this one we are following a girl, oh my gosh, what's her name? I don't remember her name. Kelsey. Kelsey gets a job for 2 weeks at, what's it called? For 2 weeks at the circus, and at the circus she gets to work with the animals, which include the dogs and this tiger, this white tiger on the front. She just becomes infatuated with the tiger and is like, wow, I wish you were free, which partially frees him from a curse because he's actually a man in disguise, and he's 300 years old, and he's not only a man but an Indian prince. And she just goes on this huge long adventure to help him and his brother break a curse, the curse that they have, and in this one falls head over heels for the tiger. Ren is his name. And it's just so cute, and I will tell you straight up, it's not at all culturally correct, and I am aware of that, and every time I read it I point out the mistakes of it, but I love the storyline, I love the characters, and it is just a really nice comfort read for me, so it is 5 stars every time I read it. The next book was also 5 stars, and that was Air of Fire by Sarah J. Maas. Wow. This is the 3rd Throne of Glass novel, I believe. I think it's the 3rd if I look at my shelf. Yep, this one's the 3rd. And honestly, my favorite. They just get better and better as they go on. I'm very much enjoying the adventure of following Selena and watching what she's doing and watching her overcome herself. I cried 3 times in this book. It was overwhelmingly emotional and amazing all at the same time. We met some amazing characters in here. My new favorite one is Manon. Oh my gosh. I would die for her. Every time they switched back to, what's his face, Dorian and Kael, I did not care for them. I could like everybody in here but those 2. They can die. I don't care. And I know that there's a whole book in Kael's point of view, and I'm just like, this is gonna suck. And I heard a lot of people are like, oh, I hate this so much, but then they genuinely like that book, so I'm like, we'll see what happens. So I'll continue on soon. I'm very excited. I'm very happy that I'm finally getting to it. It's taken me way too long. The next book I read was The Missing of Claire de Lune by Christelle Debos. This is book 2 in the Mirror Visitor Chronicles, I think is what they're called. Mirror Visitor series. And in this one, Ophelia, our main character, is still at the pole. Her family's coming to visit because she's supposed to be marrying Thorn. Her wedding's coming up soon, and there's a lot less but also a lot more that happens in this one. I gave it 4 stars, which I think is what I gave the first one as well. And the translator for this one I feel like did a better job than the translator for the first one because they are 2 different translators, so I must tell you that. It's French to English. One day I hope to be good enough at French to read the original versions of these, but currently I'm not that good. A Winter's Promise is the first one, and there are people going missing in this one, and Farouk has tasked Ophelia with figuring out what's happening, but also we're trying to figure out what Farouk's secrets are based upon this book that he has that has written out history for him and his history, because he can't read it, and neither can Ophelia, even though her powers include traveling through mirrors and reading objects. And that means when she holds onto an object, she can see where it's been, what it's done, everybody who's touched it, and every thought and feeling that has touched it. And that is partially why Thorin is marrying her, is because she can do that, and when he gets that power, he has this memory of Farouk's that his mother passed on to him, that he can read the book and have this memory and figure out all of Farouk's questions and answers. And it is wild, because the drama at the pole in the north where Thorin lives is just rich people drama all the time, with like crazy mafia things, but not mafia. It's like such a cool place because the world is just split off into fragments, and each kind of family has its own home. So Ophelia is not originally from the pole, she's from Amiam or something. It's where Farouk's sister Athena lives, and Athena created all of her children and Farouk created all of his children, and they kind of cross over every once in a while, and there's a family that's kind of in charge, and they speak to God, I think is what happens, and God wants to keep everything a secret. He wants the world to stay away from each other, which is wild because they have flying machines. Anyways, it's really cool. I love the concept, which is why I'm continuing on. This one was way better than the first one in my opinion. The next book I also gave 4 stars to, and it was The Merciless by Daniel Vega. This was I won't say cute, because even though it's pink, it's not a cute story. It's thoroughly filled with gore, and how do I describe what happens in this one? Our main character, I don't even remember her name. Oh my gosh, Sophia I think is her name. Sophie or Sophia. She comes to the new town. Her mom and her move every 6 or so months, and she's getting really frustrated with it, but she immediately makes 3 new friends, actually 4. 3 are in a group together, and one of them is separate, and she kind of gets off vibes from both of them. The 3 that are very popular, they're like cheerleader-esque. They follow God, they go to church every Sunday. They're like, oh my gosh, we should baptize you, like you would love this. And Sophia's like, oh my gosh, please do. Meanwhile, Brooklyn, on the other hand, is known to skin cats. People have said she's done some gross things and has just been overall terrifying, but she like gets good vibes and bad vibes from both of them. So she's like, I don't know which one to pick, I don't know what I should do in this situation. And the one main girl from the group of 3 girls is like got in her head that they need to fix Brooklyn, and by fixing Brooklyn they need to give her an exorcism to fix her. And it all just goes downhill from there. It is super gory. Out of all the horror books I read in October, this was like the most gory one. It's just like disgusting in some parts, but overall really enjoyable, and I really liked the spook factor of it. The vibe was off as soon as I started this. It was spooky vibe. It was perfect, amazing. I loved it. So 4 stars that was. After that I read a 3-star, and I'm so sorry for this in advance, but it was Bunny by Mona Awad. A lot of people really like this one, and it is a psychological thriller that kind of messes with your brain, and you don't really know what's happening half the time. And the main character in this one kind of is losing it a little bit, I will say. She gets included with this writing group that she goes to school with, who are 3 girls, call themselves bunnies, and when she gets involved with them, basically brainwashed with them, she finds out that they're turning bunnies into men. And it's just a very interesting, weird concept, but like, don't trust anything that ever happens in this. So, I mean, it's cute, and I'm definitely keeping it because I want to reread it at a point where I like more psychological thrillers, but it just wasn't my cup of tea at the moment. But I feel like a lot of people would thoroughly appreciate this, so I do recommend it. And the last book that I read in October, but technically finished in November, but I have it for October, is My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. This is my first Grady Hendrix novel. Oh my gosh, who am I? I finally made it. Not only that, but all of the editions of this book are gorgeous. This one I like because it has like, it looks like a school book, school yearbook, and that's what I love about it. There's even like ads and everything in here, like Our Time to Shine, which I don't know if that's in the original or in the other one. The other one looks like a sci-fi 80s novel, also super cute. I might have to have both because I thoroughly loved this. I give it 4 stars, and out of the 3 horror books that I read, this one was definitely my favorite. I also watched the movie, whole other thing, but for this one, we're following our main characters. Oh my gosh, who are they? Gretchen and Abby. And they go away with a couple of their friends on the weekend, and Gretchen goes missing. And Abby tries to find her. It's like, oh my gosh, what happened? They find her like hours later, and she's like, what the fuck, guys? I've been screaming for you all night. And they're like, no, you haven't. What the fuck happened? And soon Abby realizes that something has happened to Gretchen. That weekend, she's like, you went missing for hours, we don't know what happened. She thinks her best friend was raped. She does everything in her power to figure out what happened. She goes to police, she goes to the church, she goes to people at her school, she goes to Gretchen's parents, she goes to her own parents. She tries to figure out what's going on with her best friend, and nobody will believe her. And she does everything right, which is the scary part, I think, of this one. In the end, it was super, super, super good until the end, I will say. That's why I knocked it down from 5 stars to 4 stars until the exorcist part, when there's an exorcism going on and they're getting rid of the demon that goes into Gretchen. The power of friendship prevails, and that's all that I'll say. That is what knocked it down a star. But other than that, it's amazing. The movie didn't really touch on how much Abby genuinely tries to go to the authorities, like to the point where they're like, we're arresting you because you're harassing your best friend, and she's like, I'm not harassing her. And it's just wild, crazy stuff. I loved it. I will be reading more Grady Hendrix, and I feel like I just need paperbacks of all her stuff that looks like this. Plus the fact that this doesn't have a dust jacket also brings me so much joy. No dust jackets. I'm sick and tired of dust jackets. Alright, so that was it for October. So moving on to, let's see, November. My first book of November was The Sirens of Titan, and I gave it no rating because I did not finish it. I read, I want to say 50% of this, or listened to 50% of this, and it felt like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but you have to be smarter to understand what the hell's going on. And I didn't like that vibe. It was not a fun vibe. It was too smart sci-fi where it's like, oh, if you don't know what this is, you're not gonna understand it. And that is why I DNF'd it about 50% of the way through, because it was not my cup of tea, and that's totally okay. That's totally fine. The next book, though, was my cup of tea, and that is Hunting Prince Dracula by Carrie Maniscalco. That's definitely not how I say her last name. That's how I say it in my head. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I give this one 4 stars. This is the sequel to Stalking Jack the Ripper, and twists and turns left and right. She tried her best, and I think this was genuinely better than Stalking Jack the Ripper. I liked the ending of Stalking Jack the Ripper, but the lead up to it was a bit weird, whereas this one had fun at every turn. It is definitely a YA mystery, and that's totally fine. You can totally guess who it was by the end of it, even though she does everything in her power to dissuade you. You do have a couple of options that it can be. Who is Dracula, basically? And I thoroughly loved the outcome. I didn't remember everybody in this book for the life of me. I tried my best to remember their names, but it was so difficult, and I was having a rough time trying to remember everybody's names, but I did appreciate who was Dracula in the end. It was so satisfying. It was so satisfying. I can't wait to get to the next one. I am genuinely very excited, which I didn't think I would say. The third book I read in November was The Black Swan of Paris, and I'm going to tell you straight up, I did not read much of this book. I think it was maybe about 50 pages I listened to, maybe less, probably less, and I could tell that it was going to be a sad World War II novel, and I am not in the mood for a sad World War II novel. I genuinely can't tell you what this book is about. I have nothing to report on because I genuinely couldn't do it. I was like, oh, this is going to be sad in about 50 more pages. I can't do it. And I do think it was wonderfully written from what I did listen to, but mentally I could not handle that. It was not happening for me. And the fourth and final book that I read in November was A Court of Wings and Ruin. You all know I gave this 5 stars. We obviously all know that. This was my first time physically reading this book. Oh, this sticker comes off? Oh my gosh. Okay, hang on. I didn't realize this Indigo exclusive edition sticker came off. This is the 3rd book in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, which is like my favorite series of all time. We already all know that. Very much a comfort novel. I had set this up on Instagram to finish it at the end of December, but I was having such a rough time in general in life that I I couldn't do it. I had to finish it because that was the only thing I was interested in reading, and my brain just like needed that serotonin that I get from Sarah J Maas, you know? So that's where I was, and I just finished it, and it was honestly wonderful. I mean, like, I will say every time I read this series I find something else wrong with it, which is fine, but like, it is honestly such a comfort novel. It's like Tiger's Curse. There's garbage in there, and I'm aware of the garbage and I accept the garbage as it is, but that garbage makes my heart feel full, so I will keep reading them. Anyways, this sticker's not coming off very nicely, and I'm kind of mad about that. It could be because I've had this book for 1,000 years, but you know, I'm trying my best here, guys. I'm trying my best. So that was October and November. My favorite book in October, let's see, it was probably Heir of Fire. This was probably my favorite book in October because it just like, it was so satisfying to finish this. So satisfying. And my favorite book in November was probably According to Wings and Ruin. You know, I just need like a Sarah J Maas book a month and then I'll be happy. That's how I'm living my life at the moment. Just one a month. And I know there's more stuff out there. And I know I said I wasn't going to reread anything else, and I reread Tiger's Curse, but y'all saw me in that vlog. I was losing my fucking mind. Okay, the sticker is off. Now it looks better. Look at that. Beautiful. Also, this edition has like artwork on the inside, and the artwork is just amazing. There's more on the other side, but it's kind of a spoiler, so I won't do that to you guys. That's my update. Let me know what your favorite books in October and November were. Did you read any good spooky ones? Because I want more spooky books in my life. I don't have enough. This is just all fantasy. I'm just like looking at it. It's all fantasy. Except for this top shelf, which is romance. We don't talk about her. But thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you're all having a good end to your year reading. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye!